Hey there, Twisters. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be sharing the 10 greatest sports moments that I've seen in person. And what I would like to do is, if there is a greatest sports moment that each of you has seen in person, I would love to see a little video of you recapping what makes that so special for you. And what I could do is I could actually take that video and either put it as an intro to one of my videos in the future, or I could stitch together various community clips and we can see a whole montage for the community out there. So if you're interested in participating, go ahead and record a video and either share it with me via Gmail or something like that. My email is twistedwristermister@gmail.com. You can also choose to share with me over Twitter, a private link on YouTube. We'll figure it out. We'll find a way to make it work. But basically, it'd be awesome to see which amazing moments in sports you guys have seen in person, and then that way we see really what the community is made of here. I think that would be really interesting, and it doesn't have to be hockey either, because I'm going to be definitely talking about more than just hockey in this video. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, be sure to hit the red subscribe button down below and the notifications bell. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, actually, this is going to be more of a top 11 because I couldn't leave this one out. So at number 11, I have in 2008, I went to Prague and I saw Sparta host Slavia. Now, those are the two Prague-based teams, so it was a big, intense cross-town rivalry. And Sparta was the home team, and I bought this scarf when I was actually there. And so it was so cool because I got to see hockey on an international level for the first time. Sparta actually won 5-0, and it was pretty crazy because it's kind of like a soccer game, but obviously downsized and indoors. So you have supporters groups at either end of the ice, chanting and cheering the whole time. They have signs and coordinated motions and all that good stuff. They have tifo if you kind of follow that from the soccer world. So that was really special. I got to go there with a couple of my close friends. I was in Europe for the semester in Denmark. And yeah, that was such a cool event. I couldn't leave that off. The riot police actually showed up at the subway station afterwards, but nothing happened, at least not that I know of. So number 10, I have in 2017, I got to see Patrick Marleau return to the Shark Tank as a member of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So this is 20 years after he had begun his career with the Sharks as just an 18-year-old. I think he was, at least at the time, the youngest to score a goal in the NHL. So Patrick is obviously the most dear player in our franchise, really. I mean, Thornton's up there too, make no mistake. But yeah, Patty skated out to the ice. There was a spotlight on him. And yeah, it was just a couple minutes of fans just standing up and cheering as loudly as they could and shouting Patty and whatnot. I think that looking back on it especially, it wasn't an overproduced moment by the video team, the game presentation team. It was just really simple. Just let the guy skate out there, salute the crowd, and give him the love that he's earned over 2 decades with us. At number 9, as you can guess, I am a San Francisco Giants fan when it comes to baseball. So as a Giants fan, nearly all of us are big Barry Bonds fans, at least as the player. Let's not talk about the person. You have to admit, despite performance enhancing drugs, he was one of the most exciting players to watch. At one point in sports, he was up there with like Tiger Woods as you turn on the TV, you stay glued to the TV to watch Barry Bonds hit a home run. So in 2003, this is 2 years after he broke the record, controversy or not. So it's his 39th birthday. And the Giants are playing an important game against the Diamondbacks for, division position. And in that game, it's like a 2-2 game going into the bottom of the 9th. So leading up to it, the only offense that the Giants had came from Ray Durham. I think he was about a 5'8" player. Durham hit 2 home runs, which is not easy at AT&T Park or Oracle Park as it is now. So, I mean, it was an intense pitcher's duel, definitely, or, pitching by committee for the Giants there. So, in the top of the 9th, Barry Bonds threw out Craig Counsell at the plate, what would have been the winning run. And so, everyone's just going nuts because of how tense this ball game is, and it's Bonds' birthday. And then Bonds comes in. He's the first guy up in the bottom of the 9th. And on the first pitch, he hits a home run, and the place just erupts. Now, I've seen very exciting regular season games across sports, but that one's really memorable to me, especially since it's coming during, the height of Bonds' career there. Even in his late 30s, he was able to produce at an incredible rate. So that's going to be there at number 9. At number 8, so my alma mater is Santa Clara University. And if you're not too familiar with them, I got 2 words for you: Steve Nash. So our basketball program hasn't been strong ever since he went to the NBA. We haven't made the NCAA tournament or anything like that. Our biggest rival in our conference, the WCC, has been Gonzaga, right? So in 2011, this is the year after I graduated college, we hadn't won a home game against the Zags in 9 years or 10 years. And so I was like, okay, every time I've seen Santa Clara play Gonzaga, during my undergrad days, we always come really close, and it's a great game until like the last 3 or 4 minutes, and Gonzaga just, comes away with it. So the game is 38-36 Broncos, Santa Clara, after the first half, and I'm like, hey, the Broncos came to play. This is great. In the second half, Santa Clara just dominates and pulls ahead and eventually wins the game, I think 87-75 or something like that. Definitely one of the best basketball games I've ever seen, and easily the best one I've seen at Santa Clara. At number 7, I have, in 2017, I was at a Sharks versus Panthers game. And if you remember, Jaromir Jagr was still on the Panthers. And it was his 45th birthday. And on his birthday, he assisted on a Barkov goal, and that was his 1900th point in his career. And I remember a bunch of fans standing up and applauding him because, I think the video board had, mentioned that after the goal. He only scored 21 points after that. So I got to see one of the last, great performances from the ageless wonder in the NHL. That was definitely special right there. And the game itself was really good too. The Sharks were down by 2, and I think they had emptied their net when it was 5-3 with a couple of minutes left, and they scored 2 goals with the goalie pulled. So that's something that you don't see very often at all. The Panthers won in overtime, but nonetheless, that's certainly a memorable moment. At number 6, back in 2004, I was at a Giants game and they were playing the Chicago Cubs. And you might remember him for pitching for the Atlanta Braves for a long time. But Greg Maddux was pitching for the Cubs at this point, and he got his 300th career win that game. And even though Maddux wasn't pitching all that great, I think he gave up like 3 runs in 5 innings, he still got the win, first of all. 300 wins is something that you very rarely will see in baseball at this point. For a while there, Maddux was right up there in that conversation with Randy Johnson, Pedro Martinez, John Smoltz as like one of the elite pitchers of that era. The only other guy that I can think of who might reach that milestone out of like this crop of players is Clayton Kershaw. At number 5, this is going back to the Sharks. So in 2006, I went to the second round of the playoffs there, and I've got my ticket. There it is right there. And they were playing the Oilers. And even though the Sharks lost the series, this is a very memorable game because at one point, the Sharks were shorthanded by 2 players. So it was a 5-on-3 for Edmonton for like a minute 40 or a minute 45. And so with about 50 seconds left in that penalty kill, I think one Shark had broken his stick and the other guy had lost it or it had been broken. And the puck stayed in the Sharks zone the whole time. The Oilers kept, moving it around. Pronger's out there. Everyone's booing every time he touches the puck. They're trying to fire shots, but they're going wide, or the Sharks are just blocking them, or Toskala's in great position. Yeah, we had Toskala instead of Nabokov for this series. It was unbelievable just because of you thought the team was doomed. This was a defensive stalemate, and the Sharks fought it off. Basically, it was a 5-on-1, with a couple other bodies out there with no sticks. So that was definitely one of the coolest moments I've ever seen in hockey. Now, the Oilers scored shortly after that, but Joe Thornton, a couple minutes after that, would score what would be the game-winning goal, and the Sharks won 2-1. At number 4 and number 3, we're going to be talking about the World Series. So we'll start out with 2014, and I've got my ticket from that. I also have another one, but I couldn't find it. So in 2014, so my dad had taken me in 2010, and I'll talk about that momentarily. But in 2014, I told my dad, all right, if the Giants, if they're able to get back to the World Series, then this time I'm the one who's going to take you. So after Game 5 against the Cardinals in the NLCS, when Travis Ishikawa hit a walk-off home run, just an amazing moment in franchise history there, I went on StubHub right away and I got tickets. So My dad and I went to game 5, and we sat in the bleachers. And the bleachers, man, you want to have a fun environment, at a sporting event that's not hockey. A Giants game in the left field bleachers is fantastic. People are just going nuts. They're cheering, they're jeering the whole time. They heckle the left fielder the whole time. So like, if I was out there in left field for the other team, they'd be like this: "What's the matter with Pinkerton? He's a bum!" And they keep chanting that to just get on the players' nerves. So yeah, the Giants were 2-2 in the series against the Royals, and Madison Bumgarner, who pitched in that postseason over 52 innings, I think that's like the second most ever. He threw a 4-hit shutout, and the Giants won 5-0. So Bumgarner he pitched the whole game. He just continued this unbelievable postseason. He didn't walk any batters or anything like that. And just the whole time, everyone was just standing, just yelling. It was one of the loudest non-hockey games I've been to for sure. And the Giants obviously went on and completed the series victory right there. Now at number 3, it's the 2010 World Series. That's the first time the San Francisco Giants had made it since 2002, so first time in 8 years. And it was the first time I had gone to a World Series game, so I went with my dad and my mom. And the Giants were very heavy underdogs, at least in the eyes of the media, for the series. People were thinking that Cliff Lee was going to go out there and just mow the Giants down. So everyone's touting the Rangers, and Josh Hamilton and whatnot. And the Rangers strike for 2 runs quickly off of Tim Lincecum. And then I think it was in the 5th inning that the Giants erupted for 6 runs. And this is coming off of Cliff Lee, who was, seemingly unhittable, untouchable. And the place is just going raucous. Everyone's like fist bumping, and it was just a party this whole time. And just the fanfare leading up to it, just unreal, otherworldly. I'd woken up that morning at like 5:30 or 6 in the morning, and I went for a run, and I was just jacked up, so excited for this game. I got to duck out of work early too, so that was great. I even wrote, I literally, like when I went on that run, I'll show a picture here. You can see I'm wearing just some compression shorts, and I'm shirtless, and I wrote on myself, "Get freaky, go Giants." And I don't know why the hell I did that. I was just that jacked up to see my team in the World Series. And yeah, the Giants just won in 5 games, and that was one of the most special moments of my life, seeing my dad, get to finally watch the San Francisco Giants win one. So definitely one of the good ones. At number 2, and you probably thought that this was coming, I have the 2019 Game 7 of the first round between the Sharks and the Vegas Golden Knights. So I wasn't even expected to go to this game. My friend, I think it was after Game 5, he said, "Hey, if the Sharks force Game 7, let's go." And I said, "I don't know, man. I don't want to be there because I think Vegas would probably beat us. Vegas kind of has our number." And he was like, "Oh, come on, let's do it. Come on, we got to support the team." And I'm like, "Okay, fine, let's do it." So the Sharks had come off of a crazy Game 6. Like, people forget how insane Game 6 was because Martin Jones made 58 saves, and the game went into double overtime. And when the Sharks were shorthanded, Tomas Hertl scored the winning goal. Then we get to Game 7, and Vegas, the Sharks are out shooting Vegas, and I'm like, God, we're snake bit. It's just not meant to be. And the Knights are up 3-0. And then Pavelski goes down, and of course, I don't think I got to see the replay at the time. So, I was just like, what was that? I have no idea what the heck happened there. And then when they announced that it would be a 5-minute major, I was like, oh, things could get interesting here. Logan Couture scores the first goal 6 seconds in, and I'm like, okay, that was impressive, but, I'm still not convinced entirely. You weren't either, Cortana, were you? And then Hertl scores off of the Erik Karlsson shot, and the place gets really, really raucous. And I'm like, okay, this is gonna happen. They're gonna tie it up. And later on, Logan Couture puts another one by Fleury, and I'm like, all right, we got this. And I'm like, okay, So we're gonna, let's hope we can force overtime, and it'll be 3-3. And then Kevin LeBanc scores before the penalty expires. And I mean, this is one of those ones where like you're immediately, without even thinking about it, high-fiving people behind you. I don't think I was hugging anybody else, but my friend, obviously. I was like, oh my God. Then the Sharks, of course, I had it very clearly in my mind the Sharks would find a way to squander the lead late. Jonathan Marchessault ties it up, and I'm like, oh God, of course this has to happen. And then we go to overtime. And the Sharks were dominating the overtime too. And again, I'm thinking, this is like Game 6 against Vegas, but this time this is working against us, because here we are with all the chances, or a majority of the chances. We can't put one by. Vegas is just going to get this, fortunate opportunity, and, Martin Jones is going to flub something and it's going to go by, and that's the series. And it was interesting because my friend kept saying, I think Joe Thornton's going to have something to do with the game-winning goal. Now, people might know that Erik Karlsson was the one who saw Barclay Goodrow hop off the bench and kind of have a stride on the defender there, basically. But Joe Thornton's the one who actually was able to come away with a contested puck at the Vegas blue line. It was unbelievable. I was in the corner that Goodrow scored on. Yeah, I was there. And I kind of don't really remember. I mean, you have to go back to my video where I'm just like screaming into the camera. So then afterwards, just the elation, seeing people high-fiving and hugging each other on the concourse and outside the building. Unbelievable. And I made that video, that Game 7 vlog, which is my best viewed video of all time, at least at this point. And I finished that. I stayed up until like 3 a.m. and my throat was so shot. Just the next day I was so gassed. And people told me, you're never going to see anything like that again in person. Probably not. And I said, well, you know what? I kind of already have. And this is getting to number 1. I flew to Minneapolis for the first ever playoff game at US Bank Stadium. So I was there for the Minneapolis Miracle. I was in the same corner that Stephon Diggs ran into the end zone with a game-winning touchdown. The Vikings are ahead 17-0 at the half, and I was in line for a drink or something, and fans are gloating to this Saints fan, and I'm like, man, that guy might have flown up for this game. I feel for him. But the Vikings were just absolutely dominant. Defensively, they were just, Breeze had no chance out there. But then they absolutely choked. They choked in many different fashions, really. There was like a 4th and 10 or something like that toward the end of the game, and the Saints converted, and then, Will Lutz seemingly wins the game on a field goal with, less than a minute left, I think. Obviously, we need about 20-ish yards to have a remote chance at a field goal here. Keenum chucks the ball up. Stephon Diggs jumps up, comes down with it. Instantaneously, I'm like, all right, caught that on the sideline. He's inbounds. Maybe he can get a couple more yards, and then we can kick a field goal. And I mean, as a Vikings fan, that when it comes down to game-winning field goals, history has a way of working against us. I've been a fan of over 20 years of this franchise. Well, first of all, the cornerback misses him, and some people made videos that was rigged. Misses him entirely. And when that happens, when I see him dive on the ground, I think, there's no one in front of Diggs. It's just the end zone. He just books it down. And it looked like he might have stepped out of bounds. But I noted that as he was running, but I didn't see it, so I could still enjoy the moment. This place goes from radio silent to almost decibel shattering levels. I almost fell into the seats in front of me because of how much of an out-of-body experience it was. For a team that notoriously comes up short, loses in heartbreaking fashion, chokes away leads at the biggest, on the biggest stage. This time it was the Vikings' turn to actually win. I saw somebody dive in the snow when we walked outside doing Snow Angels, or Skull Angels, if you will. I mean, unreal. I went into a bar afterwards and just, I saw a collective of Vikings fans in a way that I've never seen them before. Like, hey, like we finally got ours. I just couldn't stop talking about it. I couldn't stop watching the replay. I couldn't stop watching fan reactions to it. And I still can't stop it because that was the most special moment that franchise has ever had up until this point. Hopefully one day they actually get to a Super Bowl. Not like when they lost like 38-7 against the Eagles, when they could have played the Super Bowl in their home stadium. Oh boy. But nonetheless, that is the greatest sports moment that I have ever seen in person. All right, folks, so there you go. 11 of my favorite sports moments that I've ever seen in person. What is your greatest sports moment? Send me a video. I'd love to somehow incorporate that into the channel in the near future. Let's definitely get that done. I'll also take some time in the near future to discuss, show off maybe some of my other games that I've been to. I have like ticket stubs and memorabilia and all that. I'd love to kind of expand things a little bit here with the season on hold for now. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a big thumbs up and subscribe and hit the notifications bell if you haven't if you haven't done already. All right, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. I'll see you again soon.